Despair, sadness, denial, obsession, depression, all of these things have one thing in common. I experienced them all while playing Elden Ring for the past month or so. But to avoid any cliches used when describing Souls games, how about some history? I played Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 3, and tried a little bit of Bloodborne, and I dropped all of those games. Not because they were difficult games only, most Souls games are difficult, I expected that. But because of the way they were designed, rather, linear. Skills play a huge role in this game, as in how skilled you are at dodging, timing your attacks, and playing defensively. However, famously in older Souls games, if you encountered a difficult boss, you were at some sort of dead end with no way to progress through the game except getting good. See what I did there? Alright, sorry, no more cliches, I promise. However, in Elden Ring, that whole linearity is completely tarnished. Alright, I apologize. That was the last one. That was the last one. I swear to God. In Elden Ring, however, if you encounter a difficult boss, enemy, or even a dungeon, you can just walk past it or go and explore to level up your character, find new armor, find better weapons, and that's the game's biggest strength: accessibility, exploration, and non-linear gameplay. So, how about we talk about those things? Souls game and difficulty go hand in hand. However, I think people have given this association negative connotations. The "get good" phrase has been made infamous by people saying that this excuse used by Souls fans is a little patronizing and condescending. However, that is essentially the only advice that was useful for Souls games. Previously to Elden Ring, of course. Why? Because once you encounter a boss you couldn't beat, an enemy you couldn't beat, a dungeon you couldn't get through, your only strategy was quite literally to just get good at the game. In Elden Ring, you no longer have to just get good. You can leave the boss area, leave the dungeon, explore, find powerful items and weapons like I previously said, level up, and really get good with the boss. And thus lies this game's biggest strength. Once again, accessibility, exploration, and non-linear gameplay all make Elden Ring the open world game I've been needing since 2017. The open world formula has been perfected, quote unquote, or so some of these developers say, over the years, but what FromSoft did is what Nintendo did with Breath of the Wild. I know, corny, cliche, call it what you want, but honestly, the Breath of the Wild inspiration is there. Like, it's undeniable. They both focused on what elements players actually enjoy from open world games and built upon that. For example, Breath of the Wild focused on the non-linearity and rewards for exploration that the first Zelda game was known for and built upon that. Elden Ring focused on pretty much the same elements as Breath of the Wild, but built upon the classical Souls formula with the dungeons and the difficult bosses. And a hard to follow lore, but I won't talk about that too much. That's all up to your imagination. A huge part of the accessibility element for Elden Ring stems from the exploration and non-linearity. Being able to step back, level up, skill up your character, and come back is what made me love this game. The game doesn't restrict you from just doing what you want, although it will put some very difficult enemies in your path if you stray away too far, but that's to be expected from any open world game. In addition to all of this great design behind Elden Ring, another huge part that stuck out for me was the music. My God, what a masterpiece this whole soundtrack is. Everything from the boss battles, the chord drones you hear whilst exploring, hell, even but especially the theme that plays as soon as you boot up the game is nothing short of amazing. Beautiful music and Souls games go together, to be honest. The opening theme song had me in a frenzy the first time I heard it. Classically, Souls games vibes always felt dreadful and a little bit sad, kind of depressing in my opinion. However, when I first heard this opening theme, I knew I was about to embark on an adventure. And this theme filled me with so much excitement and made me feel giddy at the thought of finally embarking on a true open world experience. Now, a few other things that I really liked from the game were the environments, enemy and boss designs, and even combat to an extent. FromSoft are masters at creating truly daunting and detailed environments. The step back that I had to take after first entering the Academy of Raya Lucaria was something I hadn't experienced since that first time you would open the Shrine of Resurrection in Breath of the Wild. Just knowing that around the corner was either a secret, a spooky boss, or a rare item had me seeking out exploration in these spiraling dungeons like a dog to a bone. I've spoken a little bit about enemy and boss design in my previous first impressions video, but I just can't emphasize enough just how crazy the feeling was hearing the old woman bat chant as I'm approaching a woodsy area. Made me feel like I was in a fever dream of some sorts. The bosses are quite literally out of this world. George R. R. Martin provided a great world setting that the team at FromSoft just built upon and created some of the most iconic bosses of all time, in my opinion. I'll use just one boss as an example, and by the way, there's going to be some spoilers ahead, so skip ahead to this timestamp if you don't want to know about this specific boss. When I first saw the cutscene for General Radahn, I knew I was in for a cinematic but frustrating experience. General Radahn, for those that don't know, is an oversized general that rides on his rather malnutrition looking and tiny horse. He may seem goofy at first because he's a complete fucking unit on top of a toy horse, but once you read a little about his lore, you come to find out that the man has quite literally gone mad and all he's asking is to die an honorable death. He actually isn't using his whole force throughout this battle. And the game even lets you summon some of the NPCs that help you in this epic battle against a humongous boss. Honestly, this whole fight is just spectacular with an incredible surprise right dab in the middle of it, in which the general jumps into the air, disappears, and you don't know what's going on for like 5 seconds. And all of a sudden, he comes crashing down to earth in the form of a meteor, still on his horse. Overall, the bosses in this game are all spectacular and actually feel like full-blown spectacles. And once you read the lore behind every single one of them, you become further enamored with the game. Oh, and also, did you know that General Radahn actually mastered some sort of spell so he doesn't crush his loyal steed? He loves his loyal steed so much that he doesn't want to crush him with the weight of his dummy fake ass. Just incredible story writing. Now, of course, it wouldn't be a review if I didn't include some issues I had with the game. I am trying to be objective here after all. At the expense of contradicting myself, I actually disliked how limited some of the exploration could be at times. It may be that Breath of the Wild kind of spoiled me with the ability to climb anything and everything in the game, but the fact that climbing isn't a part of this game's design left me a little bit disappointed. And no, jumping from ledge to ledge with your horse is not necessarily climbing. At least I don't think so. I got a comment on my last YouTube video saying that the main reason climbing wasn't really a thing in Elden Ring is because of the way Souls games are meant to be played. I'm paraphrasing, of course, this is not exactly what the comment said, but I understood. If one were to break the linearity of certain areas and dungeons in Elden Ring, for example, well, that would defeat the purpose of what makes Souls dungeons so enjoyable. The enemies, the jump scares because of certain enemies are placed, the surprises, etc. But still, I would have loved a little more freedom when it comes to exploration, but this might have just been the wrong game for that. Or for me. Another huge issue I have with the game is the lack of a quest log. Something as simple as having your character, for example, write down these quest lines on a notepad or something might have made the experience a lot more enjoyable for me to complete some of these side quest lines. I understand I could have quite literally written down the quest lines myself, but what do I look like? Not a lazy piece of shit? Nah. If this simple quality of life could be patched, I would honestly not have any issues whatsoever with the game's UI or UX design, as some people on the internet have infamously complained about over the past month. Souls game's biggest strength is also the multiplayer elements to it. Everything from the messages people leave on the ground as hints, tips, or sometimes trolls just make the experience of playing a Souls game a lot more enjoyable, actually really helpful, and sometimes quite hilarious. The PvP is also enjoyable, although a bit annoying at times. The fact that you can co-op and play with friends to beat difficult bosses is the main reason why I was even able to beat this game. I don't care. You can judge me as much as you want, but I'm very impatient and I'm not really that good at any kind of video game. So I needed some help from friends. However, a huge miss with the multiplayer aspect is just how cumbersome it can be to have friends join your world or you join theirs. Just the fact that you have to craft or buy a specific item to just be able to invite your friends over to your world is complete nonsense in my opinion. It's just an obstacle that should not exist. Rather than making it a fun thing to do, it puts up barriers to the multiplayer experience. Other issues such as not being able to mount your host in co-op are a little bit justified in my opinion. I'd imagine the game can only load so much for all players in a session, so it aims to limit how far players in multiplayer sessions can travel, but still kind of whack. Other things that people complain about is just how directionless the game is, just how little it tells you about certain things. For example, descriptions of the items, descriptions of weapons. For example, a newbie that might not know what blood loss is, what rot is. I understand all these things, but at the same time, there has to be a balance. Games such as Horizon Forbidden West, all the Assassin's Creed games, those games are extremely descriptive when it comes to things like that, items, weapons, etc. Every single aspect is detailed and served to the player in a golden plate, but it always kind of felt, I don't know, not as fun. The fun of a lot of the Souls games is actually talking to people, talking to your friends and asking them how to beat certain levels, how to beat certain dungeons, how to beat certain bosses. Is there a way to cheese a boss? Is there a secret shortcut that I can kind of skip a whole area of a dungeon? That back and forth that you have with friends and even strangers online brought me back to the recess days when I would boot up Pokemon Blue and hear about my friends that, hey, apparently Mewtwo is part of the game. Then you need to go to this truck and find them, and you got to put in all these random things. Hey, did you find this secret passageway to this other area? That charm of video games is what a lot of modern open world games really lack. You know, just them not explaining to you what certain things do and just letting the player figure it out on their own. I don't know, it kind of hits my child like brain sometimes, and it just makes me so excited to play a game and always boot it up. I was so excited every time I booted up Elden Ring, like, what am I gonna find out today? What's gonna make my playthrough a lot more fun? What can I change? What's my strategy? It was just amazing for me, and that's what I love about Elden Ring. It doesn't explain too much, it doesn't treat the player like an idiot, but also it's just a beautiful game. It is an amazingly well made, well stylized. The world that, as I already said, George R.R. Martin came up with is amazing. Miyazaki hit it out of the park with this game. And I do believe with all of my heart that Elden Ring will be Game of the Year contender, if not the winner. But folks, you let me know what you think. Have you played Elden Ring? Have you beaten Elden Ring? Have you enjoyed it, Elden Ring? Is this your first Souls games, and how does it compare to the opinions online? If this isn't your first Souls game, how does it compare to the older games? Of course, I'm sure you're gonna have nothing but positive things to say, but I'd be really excited to hear if you have anything critical to say about Elden Ring. Any and all opinions are very welcome here. But folks, I've been True Fernie. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and subscribe. If you didn't like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs down, because every single bit helps. Links to my socials are down below. Please make sure to follow me on Twitter, where I spend most of my waking hours as well. Please make sure to join our Discord server, where we talk anything and everything gaming, anime, TVs, movies, and anything that honestly might interest you as my viewer. But folks, please take care of each other, but most importantly, take care of yourself. As a tarnished, you kind of have to scrub a little bit more, you know what I'm saying? All right, peace.